previous time when I recorded an episode of this podcast, typically when I do, I have a segment about the UFC. I have a segment about MMA. And the last time that I sat down to record, I tried, but I just couldn't think. I just couldn't think of a single good topic because right now there is something that they're not doing with this sport, something they're not doing right, and we've kind of hit a juncture where it's a bit of a snoozer. It's a little boring right now. Nothing really interesting going on. I mean, I guess it's kind of boring in like an intellectual sense because they're just not producing anything that actually kind of resembles an interesting story. And that's kind of a shame because, I mean, combat sports, it does have one thing in common with pro wrestling. It has a few things in common with pro wrestling, but the big thing is that it thrives on story. Right now, the UFC is utterly devoid of it, at least until the Poirier Holloway fight for the BMF championship. But that's a little bit further off right now, so that's not the thing that I'm going to talk about. Instead, I'm going to talk about something that should be right here on top of us right now, but isn't. And talk about Jon Jones and the UFC Heavyweight Championship of the world, and why the UFC needs to basically tell him, fight now or be strict. And they need to be very strict about that. Fight now. Fight on this day, at this time, or we will strip you of that championship and we will stick an L in your column. And we don't care if you like it or not. This thing that has been going on, where he has been dodging Tom Aspinall just incessantly, like enough is enough. I actually saw a video, I think it must have been yesterday, and I'm pretty sure that it was actually, there's no pretty sure about it. It was a deep fake video of Dana White basically talking about how that morning they had stripped Jon Jones of the UFC Heavyweight Championship of the world, and we're going to have Tom Aspinall go to a fight for the undisputed champion, the undisputed championship. And it turns out that, of course, I had to run off to Google and just Google Jon Jones, and sure enough, no, that's not actually the case. They haven't done that. This sad little saga continues, where we have two heavyweight champions of the world, and the guy who's walking around saying that he is the greatest MMA athlete of all time is perfectly comfortable with it. Doesn't care. He wants to go around saying himself, he wants to go around saying that he's the GOAT, but he can't even say that he's undisputed. It's ridiculous. And so, enough is enough. It's bad for the sport. This is not the ultimate posturing championship. This is the ultimate fighting championship. This is not mixed megalomania arts. This is mixed martial arts. Okay? If you want to be the greatest of all time, you fight for it. And that means that if you're a champion and somebody else is walking around with a belt just like yours, justifiably calling himself the champion, then you have to do something about that. You have to settle that. You have to unify those championships. You can't just let that go and then call yourself the GOAT. You can't just let that go and then call yourself the champion. And so if Jon Jones isn't just going to cut the crap and fight Tom Aspinall, then the UFC basically needs to just say to him, hey, your next fight is Tom Aspinall or nada. And we are serious enough about this that we are going to give you a time and a date to show up and fight Tom Aspinall. So on this date, at this time, at this weight, you will show up and fight Tom Aspinall. And if you don't, we're going to call it a forfeit. We're going to stick another L in your column, and we're going to strip the championship. We'll just hand it right over to him right there, make him undisputed because obviously you don't care to dispute that. Tom's been pretty clear that he wants to dispute this. Like he wants to settle this dispute. You don't. You want to ride it out for God knows however until maybe you get some kind of like an ego fight or something. Or the interesting, I understand he's actually quite close. It's crazy to think this, but apparently he is quite close to being the longest reigning heavyweight champion of all time, which to me does not honestly say that much about what the heavyweight division has been as a whole, like historically. Or at the very least, what heavyweight champions have been compared to their competition, or historically. That's what I should say. You know, there have been some heavyweight champions that are very very good fighters, obviously. But if that's all that he's in it for, like he just wants those little resume items, he just wants those things that he can say. He wants to be able to just say that it's like, oh, Stipe was statistically the greatest heavyweight in UFC history, and I beat him. He can say that. I mean, in a sense, actually, it is true, but it's not like he beat Prime Stipe. You know, he beat, I hate to say it, but broken down, aged out, hollowed out Stipe Miocic. That's who he beat. He beat a guy that should have retired after Ngannou knocked him out. A guy who, quite frankly, actually basically did retire after Ngannou wiped him out. That's who Stipe beat. And so now he wants to be able to say, it's like, oh well, I'm the longest reigning heavyweight title and heavyweight champion, and he wants to be able to just say it. But it's not like during that period of time, you know, he's been a fighting champion and turned around and fought a different challenger every 4 months. Like he's defended it once, like once, and once again it was against, you know, aged out, broken down, hollowed out Stipe Miocic, not Prime Stipe. Prime Jon Jones and Prime John and Prime Stipe, like, could be very interesting. Probably would have been a much better fight than what we actually got. But it's not what the fight that we got. I think the UFC, they need to set their eyes on that date, after which Jon Jones will allegedly be the longest reigning heavyweight champion in history. Pick a day before then and tell him, hey, the fight is scheduled. This is when it is. Be there and fight or be stripped. But somehow Dana White, who is allegedly one of the biggest, the fiercest killers at the executive level of any professional sport, just can't bring himself to do that. So I think there's this idea that Jon Jones is worth a lot of money. And of course, the fight business, whether or not we like it or not, it is a business and it is about money. And so if Jon Jones is worth that much money, well, then that's an asset that you don't want to mess with. But you know what? Fighters only make you money when they fight. They don't make you money parading around with the belt and not fighting. Tom Aspinall has been begging you for the chance to earn you some money. Jon Jones has been basically worthless to you for more than the last year. So maybe you don't necessarily have to follow my advice, follow the plan that I've kind of outlined for you here, but you have to do something. You have to do something that isn't letting this guy dick around with your belt for another year until he decides that he's just bored and goes into retirement. Either get him to defend it somehow or strip him, and do it now. Like, do it right now. Like, seriously, tomorrow, Dana White, go put a plan on paper. Go to Jon Jones. Tell him this date, this time. You can sign right here. or I'm going to strip you in the next 5 minutes, or I'll strip you 5 minutes after you refuse to sign this contract. If you don't, just get it done. You know what? Be what you say you are. How about that? Just be what you say you are. You say that you're a killer. Say that you're a killer in the boardroom. Be a killer in the boardroom, Dana. Kill this sad little spectacle before it gets to be any more of a cancer than it already is. Get your heavyweight championship on somebody that's going to defend it and start making some money with it. But the first thing that you got to do is either get Jon Jones to fight or strip him.